You moved to a country you've never visited before, and now it's long term.
And now it's home.
Yeah, it's home. Hello, folks. So we are here with Shermaine Bolton, and I am so excited to introduce you to her today because I got introduced to her through Anika, who I recently did an interview with. And I'm so excited because when I saw Shermaine's profile and also saw her YouTube video, I saw that she was really advocating for protecting and taking care of your mental health while abroad. And I think it's important for anyone who's traveling. It was useful for me. So I just wanted to talk to her today and to get to know her thoughts about how you protect your mental health. And to know more about Shermaine, she recently moved to Canada because she got married. So for love, and she's a go-getter. So she's there, getting her life and building her life. Hopefully it will help you to know how to take care of your mental health because it's so important. So let's get into it. So hi, Shermaine.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I am very happy to share my story, and hopefully it will help somebody else along this journey as well.
So Shermaine, how long have you been in Canada?
I moved to Canada in May of 2019, so a little bit over a year now. I'm originally from Jamaica, and I moved, as you mentioned, for love. So my husband, my boyfriend in 2015 said, he's coming to Canada for school. We have both grown since then. He's no longer a boyfriend now. He's the lovely husband. And so this is where we're deciding to build our life together.
Okay, that's amazing. So you are from Jamaica. Of course, that's my home place as well. Had you traveled anywhere before moving to Canada?
I had traveled. All my travels were actually to the US though. And so funny enough, I moved to Canada without ever actually visiting Canada. So migration wasn't really a goal for me initially, but a few years ago, as I said, we looked at it and we decided we wanted to give Canada a try. And when Devara moved, I had tried to get a visitor's visa for Canada and I was denied. So I couldn't visit him here. So he always came back to Jamaica, or we met in the US. But I still decided to move to a country I had never visited before.
You moved to a country you've never visited before, and now it's long term.
And now it's home.
Yeah, it's home. So what has that been like when you just moved? What was your experience like?
Well, for me, I find that my experience in Canada is a little bit different than my friends who I talk to, because my husband would have kind of laid a foundation for me to come into. So my experience is even different than his was. So he had already gone through everything, prepped everything, and I landed as a permanent resident. I got a job shortly thereafter. And, I didn't have to go through all the struggles that I know he went through. But it was still a completely different experience for me than living in Jamaica was. It's way more multicultural here, and the people are just different. So, for example, I'll give you an example. Before I came to Canada, I always heard, Canadians are so polite. And they are, but I took that to mean something that it's not. So I would be walking and telling everybody on the street, good morning. And some people didn't answer. And initially I was offended, but the truth was some of them don't speak English. And so they probably didn't really understand what I was saying.
Right.
And that's just not a Canadian way of life. In Jamaica, you come outside, you tell your neighbor good morning. Everybody say, especially as a child, if you're not telling your neighbors good morning, then you and your parents go and have it out.
Right.
It's not quite the same here. So that took a little bit of an adjustment for me. And I had to learn to not take it personal if I said good morning and somebody didn't answer, because the truth is they probably did not understand, because Canada is so multicultural.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So that's actually a good point. Knowing that the culture can be different. And most of us know this. When you move to a different country, the culture can be different. But even when being warned, even when you're told about what you may experience, experiencing it yourself can be a big shock, right? Yeah. So what does mental health mean to you personally?
So personally for me, growing up in Jamaica, mental health, I'm from rural Jamaica. So where I'm from, I often joke that it's the definition of rural Jamaica. And I moved to Kingston for sixth form, university, and then I just never moved back. But mental health wasn't a conversation that people had openly. The moment mental health came up, it would be along the lines of, oh, is a mad person. And so we never really talked about taking care of yourself. And so for me, mental health is really just doing little things day to day to ensure that you can enjoy that peace of mind, to ensure that you're not overwhelmed, to ensure you're not experiencing burnout. And in the event that you are, it is being cognizant enough to recognize that you are and doing the things necessary to take those steps back so that you can put yourself back in a position to really, enjoy life. Because if you are, all you're doing, is just working and trying to make a quick buck, then in the end, while the money is important, you lose so much more. And so for me, that's what my focus is when I'm talking about mental health and taking care of your mental health abroad. It's really about ensuring that you have that community, that support, and doing all the little things to actually put yourself in that positive space so that you can take care of yourself and those around you.
Wow, so much fire, honestly. So for you, it's taking care of yourself and not just doing the grind, because most of us, we have goals when we move abroad. We have goals. We may want to travel to experience a place or to make more money, whatever it is. But you have to still consider yourself. You have to rest. You have to ensure you're enjoying life because your life is happening right now.
It's happening right now. And that's the thing. When you move abroad, I feel like we put this additional level of pressure on ourselves. Because I moved to Canada, my husband and I were like, oh, there's so much opportunity. And so I am facing all this opportunity and I want to do everything. I want to try everything. So I have a full-time job, but I'm also a virtual assistant. And then I said plus. And so I have to know how to, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine today about pacing yourself. And so I have to know how to pace myself. I have to know when I have taken on too much so I can dial it back. And that's one of the things that I think we have to be aware of. We put so much pressure on, but we need to know how to dial it back as well.
Yeah. And I can feel you because as Jamaicans, I've realized that we are very determined, right? Yep. Especially when we go abroad, we're like, hey, we're here. We need to just get it done.
You have to make it. You're here to make it. And so you're doing everything. But it's so important to, have those moments where you can find your balance.
Yeah, definitely. So let's draw it back a bit. Because I now realize that you said that you are not from Kingston originally. So where are you from?
I am from a little community in St. Anne called, it's Mackenzie District.
Okay.
In the larger community of Abuka. And we are way up in the hills of St. Anne. But I am so proud of where I am from. I talk about it all the time. Absolutely love it. I grew up with, when they said a village raised the child, that is what I grew up with. So I absolutely love it.
Yeah, and just so you know, even though Jamaica is really small, it's a very small country compared to other places, yet we still have distinct pockets where we're from, like different cultures, even the language, because we have our Jamaican patois, but even in different regions, it may sound different. So it's just incredible. Even with our small country, people still have their own distinct things about them. It's
absolutely
great. Yeah. You recently did a YouTube video, which I love, talking about taking care of your mental health while being abroad. So what do you think are some tools or some ways people can take care of their mental health when they've moved abroad?
Well, I got such positive feedback from that video, and I'm just so grateful for it, because I didn't realize that it would have resonated so deeply with so many people. And so some of the things I had shared is just, for one, having a support system. And it can be hard depending on where you are, because when you move to certain places, if you're moving there alone, you might not have that built-in support system. So you have to find ways to connect with other people who share your values, who share perhaps your language, So you're in Spain, and so one of the things I'm thinking is I don't really speak Spanish. So if I move to Spain, I would need to find somebody that I can talk to in English sometimes. Just for my sanity.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things, finding your support system, finding your community. I know friends who have done that through church. I know friends who have done that through different social settings. So there might be people who go out a lot and they find, other people who are interested in what they are. I mentioned joining the local library. I did that and it has helped me. Okay. And so there are different avenues that people can use to find community, and that I think is important. But also important for taking care of your mental health abroad is learning how to pace yourself. So you have your goals, you have your dreams, but knowing, when to slow down, when to push a little harder, that can actually help. And, building different activities into your life and into your schedule that allow you those down moments to relax and to reflect and to be able to plan for what you want to do coming up, in the years and months to come.
Yeah. Okay. So, I realize that you are talking about community a lot. And it's so true. Having people who share your value, people that you can talk to even in your own language is important.
Have you ever come across somebody else from Jamaica in Spain that you didn't know in Jamaica, but then you and them became very good friends?
No, but we have a Caribbean group here, and most of the Jamaicans that I know is through the Caribbean group. It would be amazing though, because in my little city in High-End, I've heard that there's another Jamaican who is in, they call it a pueblo. No, a pueblo. I don't know. It's a village in English. But he's a Jamaican. I haven't met him, but I would love to, because I'm like, I know that if we connect, it would be like a friend. Because you have a similar cultural background. I will say, however, that I traveled to the US almost long term. It was for 6 months thereabout, and I met a Jamaican family there. And when I met them, it was like a relief, because even in the US, even with them having the same language like Canada, it's still different because the culture can be so vast. So just having that slice of Jamaica in a foreign land was just so good.
It's the commonality of it and the familiarity of it that it brings you this sort of comfort that you didn't know you were missing. And so for me, that's something I cherish a lot. I'm very grateful because my husband has friends and he had already built a community before I got here. So I sort of walked into a pre-built Jamaican community where there is get-togethers for barbecues when the weather is warm enough. There is dominoes being played. There is always the pot of soup putting on before the domino game. And so, things like that, it feels like home. And so it helps me when I'm going through my homesickness as well, to be able to lean on these people and have somebody who I can talk to who has been there through these things as well. So it really has been a blessing for me, having had that pre-built community to walk into.
Yeah.
And that's a part of what I'm trying to create through my YouTube channel and my website. I want to be able to share these experiences and kind of create a space that people who are coming here can say, I can meet people on this YouTube page, or I can meet people on this website that could become my community as well.
Yeah. And I'm so grateful that you are taking the initiative to do that, because it's so important. And by the way, links for all of Shermaine's her website, her YouTube channel, everything will be below, so you can check her out and go and connect, because she has so much knowledge and it will be helpful. So just so you know. But yes, I'm very grateful that you are taking the initiative, because recently when I was trying to come to Spain, I was looking for, different channels, different social media handles that would resonate with me, from a Caribbean perspective, and it was hard for me to find. So to find that you're doing this, people like Anika from Caribbean Millennial is also doing the same thing, it's amazing. So, if you want to connect with someone abroad from the Caribbean, just look us up and maybe we can direct you to someone else, but try to find your community, and it's really helpful.
And it's the same with Canada as well. When you're trying to move to Canada and you try to find relevant content on YouTube of what people have experienced, you find a lot from Asia, you find a lot from India. From Jamaica, not so much. So I'm trying to talk to as many Jamaicans as I can, just to share different stories, because everybody's journey, I find, is different. No matter how similar we think it is, there are little nuances about it that can help the next person. And I always say, if you have the opportunity to illuminate the path for the one to come, then you should do it. And so that's definitely what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, definitely something that's valuable. Yeah. So you mentioned something about the cold season, right? Let's get into that.
Let us talk about the cold.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's not yet November, and I'm already wearing my scarves, my tam, my jacket to go outside, because we've had, I think, 1 degree weather so far. So we're almost at zero.
Oh man.
I am in Ontario, so I'm about 20 minutes north of Toronto where I live.
Mm-hmm.
And people in Alberta already have snow. And it's not November yet. So if anybody here is thinking of moving to Canada, just condition your mind that fall is, other than it being very beautiful, sometimes it doesn't exist. You will see the colors, but you're feeling this winter from early on.
So with all of that, how do you think the winter can affect, well, not just the winter, but if you're from a country that's originally just warm most of the time, all year round, how can that affect your mental health? What do you think it can cause?
I have found that we take for granted how much sunlight we have in Jamaica, the warmth that we get from the sun in Jamaica. And you don't really appreciate it until you have moved to a country that has defined seasons, and now you have to live through all 4 seasons of the year. There is a condition that they call seasonal affective disorder, SAD for short. And a lot of people suffer from it without even realizing. What it is once the summer passes and you're getting less direct sunlight, less vitamin D, a lot of people can go through a season of depression, of extreme sadness, extreme homesickness. And for some people, it only affects you mildly, so you don't really pay that much attention to it. For some people, it becomes a lot more severe. And I find that happens in Canada. And so it's important for people who are living through these cold, and it's important for me too. I have to keep reminding myself, you have to find ways to make yourself happy throughout the winter. When you're living somewhere that winter can last for 6 months, 6 months feels like a year.
Yeah.
And so for one, what I try to say is try to embrace it. So last year during the Christmas, we had family visiting and we went snow tubing. And it was absolutely fun. I mean, I couldn't feel my fingers for a while, but you're sliding down this slope in this tube, and it's just so much fun. I haven't built my first snowman yet, but I plan to do that this Christmas. And it's just finding little ways to make, to enjoy what it is, because you live here. And if you are like me, you chose to come here. So you have to be able to embrace that this is now your life. Now, it's not as easily done as it is to say it. And so if it is that you find that you're struggling, again, I will go back to community. You need those people who are able to lift you up on those days that you're not feeling 100. Outside of that, people can look at even your supplements. So for me, I have already stocked up on my vitamin B, and I am increasing my other supplements that I take, because I am from Jamaica. And I feel like maybe I am solar powered. But I never knew that before now, because I would have the natural sunlight to recharge day after day.
Oh, yes.
Now I am here and I don't get that for 6 months out of the year. And so I have to find other ways to get myself that vitamin D supplement. There's one thing I plan to try this year, which is there's a light box therapy.
Okay.
It's like a vitamin D bulb, and you use it indoors. Plan to buy one because I'm working from home. So even worse, now I don't go out as much.
Yeah.
So I am planning to buy one to put at my desk, and I will test it and do a review to see whether or not I think it works. But even just, find little ways, little things to do, schedule times to meet up with people. It's kind of hard now with COVID, but set up a Zoom, a FaceTime, a WhatsApp call, whatever the case may be. and keep in touch with people. It absolutely helps, because throughout the winter season, you are a lot more susceptible to, falling, succumbing to those feelings of sadness and depression than you are throughout the rest of the year. So it's very important. Try to embrace it, because it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's gonna be minus 10 degrees some days. It's gonna feel like minus 20 degrees some days. You can't escape it. But find yourself the proper gears that you need to keep yourself warm, and then try to work on, your mental space. Either you're embracing it or you're finding ways to combat it. But it's absolutely important that you are, at the very least, aware of how it affects you.
Yeah, I love what you said about embracing, what's happening, because most of us, we've chosen to be where we are.
Yep.
We have to just acknowledge and accept that this is how it's going to be. So how am I going to make the best of it? I actually love that.
This is my life now. This is my life now. I lived in Jamaica where I had summer all year long. Just earlier today, I was talking to my friend. She moved to England with her family a year ago.
Uh-huh.
And we were talking about experiencing seasons. And I was saying in Jamaica, you have 2 seasons. You have your regular season and you have hurricane season.
Yes.
And outside of that, we don't know any other season.
Uh-huh.
But we chose this life. We chose to pack up and leave Jamaica for this. So embrace it. Find things to do. I'm looking forward to, there's a light show that they have here in Toronto in the winter. And so I'm already, before we get into the snow, I'm already planning little things that I can do to take myself out of the house so that I can embrace this, because I chose this life. So I have to make the most of it.
Yeah, and that's so beautiful. And also get your winter clothes. It's helpful because, the
proper winter clothes too.
Yes.
Don't just winter clothes, snowshoes, gloves. Don't cheap out on them.
Yeah.
Get
quality.
Get the good ones. Get the good ones, because it's worth it. If you have to take the bus, and again I say I feel privileged because I escaped to this. My husband took the bus for 4 years through winter. Through school and through work, and he had his extended hours at the bus stop and walking for long distance in snow. I came here in May and we bought a car in August so that I wouldn't have to take the bus to work through winter. He's the sweetest.
Yeah.
So, but I know, I've seen what it does and I've seen the effects of it. And I'm telling you, get the good gears, because it's worth every dollar you spend on it.
Every dollar.
Every dollar.
Yeah. And I understand that when you just move abroad, I understand that most of us, we are still trying to save because it's hard to move. But wherever you can, just try to, get your gear together. If you can buy a nice pair of boots this month and maybe a nice jacket the next month, just try to do it. It's very important. Don't delay on this. You have to get your gear together if you're going to a cold climate.
Yeah, and another thing too is to be aware of sales periods wherever you're living.
Oh yes.
So like in the US, Black Friday is a big deal. But in Canada, Boxing Day sales are bigger than Black Friday. So if you are in Canada and you're looking to get like a solid pair of winter shoes, if you can hold out until, like a Boxing Day sale, you might be able to get a quality one at half the price, because Boxing Day is like Canada's Black Friday. We also have Black Friday, but Boxing Day I've found is bigger. It's just a cultural thing. I don't know where it came from. I'm still new to this, but I'm learning. So learning what the sales periods are and how to, maximize your dollar will help as well for things like that.
Yeah, so that's why you need to get in connection with people that know these things, so you can know the sales period, you can know the good brands, you can know where to go. So get in connection.
Oh, and as I mentioned sale, there's one thing I wanted to say. When I just moved to Canada, and I remember going to the mall, and every store had up these signs about sale here, 50% off, 75% off, buy one, get one. And I got so excited because I thought, the sale was going to be done and I would miss it. And my husband said to me, "You live here." Like, what? Like, you live here now. It's buy one, get one this week. Next week, the same store is going to have a 50% off sale. And the following week, the same store is going to have a 40% off sale. But I had been so accustomed to visiting. When you visit the US, you're there for 2 weeks. So when you see a sale, you run in, you grab a few items because you're leaving in a few days. But I live here now. So I really don't have to try to catch this sale because there's another one coming and another one coming. So it's just little things in terms of adjusting a mindset when you move abroad that I find really help. I live here now. It was an amazing revelation for me. I live here.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Having the right mindset. I live here now. When you're moving abroad long term, it's definitely different from visiting.
Completely different. And it's a lot to adjust to, but I find that when I tell myself I live here now, it helps.
Yeah.
Gentle reminder.
Yeah. So it's like a declaration, if you would, or affirmation that okay.
It is.
Yeah.
I don't have to stress about this. I live here now. I don't have
Yeah.
to rush to get this. I live here now. And it helps. It has helped more than I even realized it did.
Yeah. The part about not rushing, take your time. Have a strategy, have a goal, and don't try to rush because you don't have to rush to grab all the experience in, depending on how long you are planning to be abroad. Because maybe for some of us, it's not going to be a permanent thing. So you have to keep that in mind. But if it's long term, give yourself some time.
Give yourself some time. And I find as well that a lot of people who move abroad compare themselves to other people living abroad. And we have to appreciate that everybody's story is different. So even if you've been abroad a year or 5 years, the fact that somebody else has bought a car or bought a house or has a specific job, it's not your story. So you have to be able to be patient with yourself. And some of these things can cause anxiety. Some of these things are what will give us these mental health concerns because we're so busy comparing ourselves to what somebody else has done or what somebody else is doing. But it's so important to remember that, you're on your own journey. And it doesn't matter what anybody else has done or how anybody else has done it. You take what you can from each of us. You learn from our lessons so you don't make the same mistakes, but you're living your own journey. You literally are charting your own course. And so just be patient with yourself. One day at a time, put your plans in place, one foot in front of the other until you get to where you want to go. But it will happen for you in your own time. So it doesn't matter how quickly or how long it took somebody else to do it. That's just not your story.
Man, so much value. I mean, I'm getting so much out of this. If you are as well, please give this video a thumbs up. It helps a lot. So yeah, I really love what you said. Even though you are taking some of other people's experiences, yours will be different.
Different.
So what does culture shock mean to you?
Culture shock, I feel people experience culture shock in different ways. And so for me, it's all those little nuances that you find surprising, all those little things that even though you might have heard about them, when you experience it for yourself, you still don't really understand. And I'll give you an example, which for some people might not be culture shock, but for me, it was just weird. I lived in Portmore, Jamaica for years, right? And so I know what it feels like to run after a bus. Like you see the bus come in and you flag it down and you run to catch the bus. In Canada, you don't run after a bus because the bus will drive off anyway. Right? You just don't run down a bus and they announce it on the bus. Like they tell you not to run after the vehicle. And I just couldn't believe it. Like the first time it happened to me, where I saw the bus at the bus stop, I was gonna be late, so I'm running and I was fanning down the bus. I thought the driver would stop. He just drove. Like, okay. And then it so happens that when the next bus came and I got on, because they're always playing these recordings on the bus, for safety reasons and stuff. This was more than a year ago. And the recording, it was the first time I realized that in the recording, it was telling you not to run after the buses. I was like, what the hell? So how they going to know that I'm cooking? It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So it's little things. It's the little things that happen that make you realize that, whoa, this is not where I'm from.
Yeah.
My boss told us a story. He lived in the UK for a while. And in Jamaica, when somebody's hurt, you say hush as a form of comfort.
Yes.
And so hush is comfort. And he says when he just moved to the UK, his co-worker was, complaining about something, and he said hush. And she took offense because she thought he was telling her to shut up.
Yeah.
Because there, when you say hush, it's like hush up.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just little things like these. You have to be so cognizant of the different cultures, of different expressions, of different ways that people say things. And culture shock, I find, is not just when you're new. It keeps happening for as long as you live abroad.
Yes.
There are new things that you will keep running into, and it just keeps happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so true, Shermaine. I realize even today that I'm still, understanding different nuances, even with a new language, especially, Some things may be a joke, some things may be serious. It's like I'm constantly going through this mental, thing where I don't know if you feel this way, but sometimes I'm like, am I really being myself, especially when I'm with my coworkers, because I can't necessarily relax yet because I'm still learning the language. And that for me is like a culture shock in a way, because I'm not necessarily myself 100% of the time because I'm trying to figure things out. And I've been here over a year now.
Speaking of not being yourself, for me, I work with a Jamaican company here in Canada. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit easier because I have Jamaicans at work. But we also have Trinidadians and Bajans, and we have Canadians. And so it's a very multicultural office. Yeah. But what I find with me at the office is when I was in Jamaica, we were all Jamaicans. If I got upset or if I got flustered, I was never worried about people perceiving me as the angry Black woman.
Yeah.
And that's something I feel like I have adopted since being in Canada. Mm-hmm. So if something happens and I'm completely bothered, I find that I'm not expressing myself as I would have in Jamaica, mm-hmm. because now I am very cognizant that although I am working for a Jamaican company and there are a lot of other Caribbean people there, I'm still thinking I do not want to be classified as the angry Black woman in the workplace. Yeah. And so things like that, depending on where you are. Thankfully, I don't have the language barrier. I don't know how I would do that. Yeah. But it can't be easy.
No, it's not. It's like, as you said, you have to embrace that it's your life now. And I've been embracing that. I need to learn this language. I've actually been waking up early every morning. Most mornings. But yeah, I've been very committed to waking up so I can study this, because the people around me, they speak Spanish. Even if they speak English as well, Spanish is their language. And I want to connect with them. That's something I love doing, connecting with people around me. So I've been trying my best to learn, but it's difficult. And as you mentioned, not wanting to be the angry Black woman, there was something that was bothering me in school, and I think this was like one of the few situations where, okay, I'm not really okay with this, and it was just something that I needed to bring up with my superiors. But I realized I was hesitant, and I'm not usually that way when it comes to things like this, because I didn't want to be perceived a certain way, because honestly, in my school, I'm the only Black person. Imagine that. Actually, in this city in high end, it's not multicultural, so it's hard. You're a minority, which is another thing that can be hard for you, especially if you were a majority in your country and now you're a minority. It's a whole situation. But all that to say is that I eventually just struck up the nerve to go to my coordinators and explain the situation and ask if they could help with a solution. And they were actually thankful that I brought it up, because they're like, oh yeah, we totally understand and know we can work together. And I'm so grateful. But as you said, I hesitated because I was afraid of how I may be perceived. But I don't know, what do you think? Like, if you're having an issue, how do you think you can approach it without worrying about how you look?
I think sometimes we will always worry about the perception, but we are sometimes in our own way. So in being so concerned about how you will be perceived, you are sometimes putting yourself back from advancements that you could have.
Yeah.
I mean, if it is that something is genuinely bothering you, you have to be able to speak about it. I think sometimes because we're so afraid of how we will be perceived, we might be standing in our own way of advancing at a job, in our own way of making new friends. Because, we're not really as open as we should be. And especially if it's a case where something is bothering you, if you're not able to talk about it and talk about it freely, then you're breeding a toxic environment that, of course, could just, fester and become something more. So we have to be able to try to, and in Jamaica, I never had to do this. I never had to try to objectively look at the situation from so many different angles because I was free to just be me. But it's just another level of what you have to do when you're living in a different culture. You have to try to appreciate it from their perspective as well as from yours to be able to, have a full understanding and not cause that animosity that sometimes we're bringing on when it doesn't need to be there.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, try your best to think about the situation objectively, to take yourself out. I know it's hard because you're like...
It's difficult.
Yeah, because you're a person, you're a human being. So we have our feelings, we can't deny that. But try your best to be objective about certain things.
At least until you have learned the culture and you understand the nuances.
Right.
You have to try not to take everything so personal.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Definitely. So, what are some tools you enjoy to maintain your self-care? I know that you mentioned that you're going to try the light, the vitamin D light, so you'll try that. But are there any tools that you're using now?
So at the moment, for me, one of the things that helps me to maintain my self-care is I do my own hair. And I didn't start doing it for self-care purposes per se, but when they quoted me on the cost to get my locks groomed here, I said absolutely not. I can do it, and I will. And I do my own nails because, again, I can do it and I will. So finding ways to save myself money, whether you believe it or not, is self-care for me. Yeah. So not paying what I consider exorbitant fees for grooming because I can do it myself is my number one form of self-care. But outside of that though, I read a lot. So for this year, my goal is to read 60 books between January and December. 60. Last I checked, I was at 40 something. So I'm well on my way to getting there. I read a lot. I do all different types of books. I'm reading memoirs, I'm reading novels, I'm reading self-help books. I'm reading anything pretty much that I get my hands on to. And which is a part of why I joined the library, because I didn't want to buy all these books that I wanted to read. I think finding things you enjoy. So for me, I am a binge watcher of TV series. And so I have to put time in my week as a part of my unwinding to binge watch whatever TV series I'm currently interested in. So I know people say, you shouldn't watch TV because, it's not good for productivity. I don't buy it. I need it, and so I do it. It's what helps me. If I'm watching a movie, I might fall asleep. If I'm watching a series, I can watch 8 and 9 episodes consecutively, no problem. And so I just find different things that I enjoy. I love watching TV series. I love reading. I do that. Cooking has become therapeutic for me. And so I try to find new recipes. I didn't have to cook as much in Jamaica. Thanks, Mom. But I'm a whole wife now, living in a whole other country. And so I've found that I've taken to my kitchen a lot. And so that also helps. But I think from a self-care standpoint, a lot of people think, it's face masks and facials and manicures, and it's a lot more than that. It's finding that time to really decompress and de-stress, and so that's what I try to do with my books. They're my little escape. and that really helps me a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love what you said about the grooming. Like, you're taking that time to just, feel
Just
good.
me.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and also watching series. I agree. A lot of people will say, you should be watching TV, but you need to know what you need personally, and also don't take it out of context. Don't overdo it. But schedule time, like you said, you schedule time in your week so that you can watch the series, and then you have other times you're productive. So be
I
aware
even take
of
it a stretch further to say that watching my series helped me to be productive.
oh
Because it gives me that downtime that then allows me to free up my mind. I can get new ideas flowing to
yeah.
move on to something else.
Yeah, definitely something to think about. So, as you said, it will be different for everybody. So,
Everybody's journey is different.
yeah. And another thing that I think I like about traveling abroad is that you are forced to get to know yourself.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You could say that one again. You have to figure out what you like to do when you're abroad. You have to figure out who you are. Because I feel like in Jamaica, I was so surrounded by family and friends, and I had built this whole life and all my routines, that when I came abroad and I had none of it, it felt like I was building from scratch. So now I have all of these things I can do, but what do I really want to do? And I think moving abroad gives you this connection with yourself that you would never have otherwise. I would highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Depending on who you are, that connection might show you some traits that you need to change. But that's a good experience too.
Yeah.
You might realize that there's some things you are doing that was not so good for you, and you can change. But it's like you hold up a mirror when you move abroad and you're like, this is me.
Because you are taken out and you're just plugged into the situation.
And especially when you're moving in new circles. So are you really that extroverted as you thought you were in Jamaica? Or were you just surrounded by people you were comfortable with? Because now when you have to make new friends, you realize that maybe sometimes you are shyer than you thought. Are you that person who strikes up a conversation with a stranger? And so you learn these little things as you go along, and you're put into different situations and new workplaces, new church groups, new outings, new social circles. You get to discover more and more things about you without what I will loosely call the noise of who you always thought you were.
Yeah. Or who people always thought you were.
Or who people thought you were.
Yeah. So good. So good. Yeah. So as Shermaine said, if you can get the chance, even for a year, if there's a program that you can find just to take you away for a while, then try to do it, depending on if you want to, because there are ways you can find yourself home, definitely, but moving abroad, it's a way that definitely will force you. So if you're looking for something more assertive to get to know yourself, we definitely recommend that.
I'd recommend it 100%.
Yeah. Oh, you mentioned that you love to read. So what is one book that you would recommend that people read that has helped you?
I think right now, my favorite book and my favorite book to recommend for maybe the past 3 years is still The Compound Effect by Darren.
Okay.
The principle of the book is about how small actions compounded over time yield big results. And I find that if you apply this in any area of your life, whether it is with your finances, with your friendships, with your relationships, with yourself, you will realize that, it's really the little things in life that matter the most. They all add up, and over time, those are what become the big things. And so I'm trying to reread that book every year, and I recommend it highly, highly recommend it. Compound Effect by Darren.
Yeah, and we'll leave a link below as well, so you can go and look at the book and check the reviews out and buy it if you wish. But I've heard about that book, and I want to read it as well. I think I'm going to...
absolutely should.
Yeah.
I can share it with you on Audible. I think I'm allowed to share one book.
Please.
If you've never received a book from a friend for free before, then I can share it with you, and it's free.
Okay.
They allow you to receive a book for free.
Okay, that's great because I would love to. And yeah, sometimes I'm doing some different tasks and I listen to podcasts, but I'm looking into listening to audibles as well.
Well, that's really how I am able to say that I've completed 40 plus books so far this
Okay.
year, because my cleaning time and my cooking time is really my audible time as well. So the library, our local library, allows us to download audiobooks and ebooks, as well as borrowing physical books. And I'm just in love with the library because I never had this in Jamaica. And their collection is so wide. And so I keep borrowing all these audiobooks. They lend them to you for 14 days at a time.
Okay.
And if nobody else is in line, then you can renew it. But if other people are waiting, then they just take it back. It can hurt if you're not done.
Yeah.
But it's been fun. It's been fun getting these books to the library, listening to different audios, reading different ebooks and so on. Especially through COVID, when you couldn't physically go in. It definitely helped.
Wow. I like that. Yeah, I think I'd like to join a service like that where you can actually get the books rented to you.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, is it rented because you don't pay a fee?
Free of cost.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Even better.
Unless you're late with returning it.
Okay. Yeah, like the library system. This shows how long I haven't been to a library. But yeah, if there's a service like that online, please feel free to recommend. I don't know if it has to be in your city, but I would love something like that.
For the ones I've seen, it usually is to your city. So maybe you could check out if there's anything like that where you are.
Yeah, and definitely get that Spanish reading going. You've been abroad for how long now?
A little over a year.
Okay.
A year and a few months.
Okay, so has that affected what you feel is your bond with home in any way?
It absolutely has. I have always been a very patriotic person, but I feel like I am more patriotic now than I was in Jamaica.
Girl,
I will defend. If you notice, my necklace is a little map of Jamaica.
Yeah, beautiful.
My friend Kimberly gave it to me right when I was leaving, and it is now my favorite piece of jewelry. Well, second only to the wedding ring. It's my second favorite piece of jewelry to wear, because I just feel like, the longer you're abroad, I feel like the stronger your connection. Well, for some people, for me at least, I feel very connected to Jamaica. I feel very proud of Jamaica. I want to find ways to give back to Jamaica, but I don't think it's affected it in a negative way at all in terms of my connections. Jamaica will always be home. I live here now, but Jamaica is always home.
Girl, speak. Yeah, you actually, no, for real. You actually, for me, I love Jamaica more because when I am not in Jamaica, I realize some of the things that I, took for granted. And I've mentioned this before. Some of the things I took for granted, I appreciate even more now.
Yeah. Being abroad highlights some of the things some of the deficiencies in Jamaica, some of the, some areas that could be improved. But it also highlights just some of what you're missing, some of the things that you never really appreciated while you were there. And so I can't wait to go home.
Yeah. Oh,
can't visit right now, but I can't wait to go home.
Yeah. Visit to get some Jamaican food.
Woo! There are Jamaican restaurants here, but it's not the same.
Yeah, it's not the same. There is none here.
Oh my gosh, I feel for you.
Yes, please do. There's probably one in Madrid or two, because I've heard people talk about it, or maybe a store that will sell Jamaican ingredients or Caribbean, but there is none in high end. So I've had to use my spices to try to come up with
flavor.
Yeah, love my flavor.
I feel for you. I could not.
Yeah, it's I've learned to cook more. I mean, I loved baking before moving abroad, but now I realize, hey, I love cooking too. So, hey.
Being abroad, I have been cooking a lot more than when I was in Jamaica. Mostly because my mom lived within walking distance of me. And so I never really had to cook. I would cook, but I didn't have to. I could always call and I would get food. And so being here now, I realized I can cook. If there's a YouTube video with instructions, I'm a chef.
Yeah. Oh.
So that's, you discover these things about yourself.
Yeah.
When you've moved abroad that I probably would not have discovered in this great detail while back home, because I had that safety net of I will always have excellently cooked food if I just say, Mommy. Here, I have to learn to cook that food excellently myself.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I've discovered is that I love cooking and I love trying to cook different things and new things. And it's been good.
Yeah.
Learning about myself with this mirror up as we discussed.
Yeah, and I'm sure you'll learn more. I'll learn more, and it's a good experience. Okay, so to land the plane a bit, what advice would you give to other travelers to prepare for the expat life, those who want to, or those that are just here already in different countries?
Advice. Be open-minded. I would say if you want to be an expat, if you're thinking about living in another country, whether it's for 1 year, 10 years, for however long, be open-minded. The journey that you will take might not be the journey you initially planned to take. Mm-hmm. And so you have to be able to adapt as you go along. You have to be able to be willing to meet new people. You have to be willing to start over, especially if it's a long-term plan that you have. Know that when you're going to a new country, you have to be able to appreciate that things won't always be the same. And so I think my greatest advice to anybody trying or wanting to do this is to be open-minded, to be willing to adapt, and to be willing to start over.
All good. Yeah, definitely have to have an open mind and to be willing to start over, because you are, in a way, starting over your life. There's so many new things for you to do. You have to get a new bank account, even just the logistics of it. And even mentally, you have to prepare to start over. New friends, even though you miss your friends, you have to make new friends. It's important. So, yeah, I agree, definitely. If you could describe moving abroad in one word, what would it be?
I thought about this, and I think the word that I want to say is transformative. I think moving abroad has been such a transformation for me, because I went to university and I studied media and communications. And then I got a job working in entertainment. And I stayed in that job. And I worked, I climbed the ladder, I got different positions. But I became so comfortable in what I was doing. I was good at my job. And I'm okay saying that, because I think other people would agree. I was very good at what I did. And so when I came to Canada, it gave me an opportunity to look back at the last almost 9 years working for an entertainment execution company and saying, is this the life that I want to continue? Is this the path I want to continue on? And a lot of the questions that I asked myself, the answer was no. This is not what I want to continue doing. This is not how I want to continue living. And so moving abroad gave me that opportunity to completely transform my life, to make it what I want it to be now. I set new goals, I'm working towards new dreams, and so transformative is what I think moving abroad has been for me. I feel like I've been looking in a whole new mirror. I am seeing a whole new person, and it's exciting. So I can't wait to see what I will say after 5 years of being here. It's been one. I'm still excited, but I'm cognizant that I'm still in the honeymoon phase. And so let's see what I say in 5 years. But transformative is what I think moving abroad is for me.
Yeah. And I can see just by, how you've been going about this, I look forward to seeing what it will be like in 5 years for you as well, because
check in.
Yeah. And I enjoy learning more about your perspective. And how else can people connect with you? What would you say is your best, social media place?
I'm gonna go ahead and say Instagram. Okay. I would have said Facebook, but I'd be lying. So people can message me on Instagram. I am going to be adding new content to the website, and I have some new videos to be released on YouTube. But Instagram would be the best place to reach out to me if you want to connect. Or if you are living abroad and you want to share your story on my platform, it's called Just Landed What Now, because I felt like I had been planning this move, and when I got here, I literally was like, okay, so what do I do now? And so coming out of that is where all of this was born. Anybody who wants me to share their stories, I'd be happy to, if you have moved to a new country, on my platform. So yes, that's where you can find me on Instagram mostly, but also you could check my website.
Yeah.
And please do go watch my YouTube videos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. You'll learn a lot from it. So thank you, Shermaine. Thank you so much for giving us your time, for being here. It's been valuable. We've just learned so much. I have, and I'm sure you can say the same. So thank you. And we look forward to just, learning more from you soon. So please go follow her YouTube page and her Instagram and connect with her.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, same here. Okay, so thank you. I look forward to seeing you all soon. I hope you're having a wonderful time. So go and have a great day. Bye.
Bye.